Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is, at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is politics done right.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We are going to have a great show today. Remember what I promised. Remember, folks, what I promised. But anyhow, the name of the show today is This Progressive. This Progressive and others are ready and running to give you back your country. Remember those people used to say, taking back the country? We are talking about giving you back your country. Giving you back your country. Anyhow, at the inception of the Obama administration, the Tea Party claimed the president was working against their best interests and they wanted their country back, of course. No one ever took away the country from anyone. In fact, most of the angst and the pain many of them and progressives alike were feeling and experiencing was the direct result of policy of the people these Tea Party people elected. Worse, many progressives were complicit in their absence from the process in 2010, 2014, and 2016. But guess what, folks? Not anymore. Not anymore. Progressives are activating with a passion. However, Americans need to know that these brave souls are out there and ready to go to work for them. The promise I made when Politics Done Right went from a 1-hour show once a week on Pacifica Network's KPFT 90.1 FM in Houston to the daily show on several independent networks was that we were going to feature progressives and promote them continuously to ensure America knows the real choices they have. In that light, today we bring you our latest progressive candidate. Liz Watson is our featured progressive of the day. Liz, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on the show. I really appreciate it. Thanks for what you're doing for giving a platform.
Well, I consider this a duty. And let me get rid of that echo. I think that echo should be gone now. I consider that a duty. But let me tell our people a little bit about you. Liz Watson is a product of Bloomington, Indiana's public schools. She is a fifth-generation Hoosier. Watson went to Georgetown Law School. During law school, she represented victims of domestic abuse. After law school, she represented working people in low-wage jobs, victims of pregnancy discrimination, unemployment compensation denied, and other indignities working people suffer at the hands of a rigged system designed to exploit them. Liz was the policy director for Democrats in the United States Congress. She led the development of the $15 minimum wage bill in the House and worked with Senator Bernie Sanders' staff for the companion bill in the Senate. She has also worked on progressive legislation with Senator Elizabeth Warren. After watching the current congressman work against the people of her district, she did her civic duty. She decided to say no más. As my good old Panamanian boxer said, no más, no más, no more. No more. She is running to replace Trey Hollingsworth in Indiana's House District number 9. Welcome aboard, Miss Liz Watson. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great.
Well, we are... Well, absolutely. So what we want to do is first of all, I want to tell you that we simply love your platform.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yes, your platform is just what I think everybody is looking for. Now, the first thing I want to ask you is what gave you the courage to run?
Well, after Trey Hollingsworth came into Congress in the 115th Congress, and after President Trump came in, and I watched as everything I care about got on the chopping block, safety and health protections that keep working people from dying on the job, protections from discrimination if you work on a federal contract, clean air, clean water protections, efforts to 300,000 users and millions of Americans off their health insurance. I felt like I had to do something. I had to step up and do something. And for me, I was watching this stuff happen on the floor, and so it wasn't like there was a TV screen in front of me that I was watching. It was in real time, and if it was a worker protection, I was fighting back against that effort to roll back protections. And I couldn't do it because we didn't have the votes, and I had to acknowledge that it was time for me to try to step up and to try to vote for Hoosiers. I've been fighting for Hoosiers for a very long time, but if I was really going to make a difference right now, I need to be able to vote for us.
Now, beforehand, why don't you tell us a little bit about your upbringing? I saw a video that you did about where you came from and sort of where your values came from. Why is it that we know that this is coming from the heart and this is not just somebody saying a whole bunch of words like we know a whole lot of people that are out there running right now? You've lived this. You've seen people who've lived it. Tell us a little bit about your upbringing and tell us a little bit about why you do this.
Sure, I'm glad to do that. So I'm from Bloomington, Indiana, and, I grew up with this idea that what happens in Congress really matters. A lot of people sort of think of Congress as, the stuff that happens in Washington that doesn't affect my life. My dad was the first in his family to go to college, and he got to do that because of the GI Bill. So he had served in the military, and his two brothers had, and 3 of them went to college because of that federal investment. And the reason that the boys had a roof over their heads when they were growing up was Social Security benefits, which was another thing that Congress had done because my grandmother had survivor's benefits after her husband passed away. So I knew that I got to grow up, in Indiana and have a nice middle class life, and I did. But because of some of the things that our Congress had achieved, and last year when my dad got very sick, he had Medicare. And he was in a coma for 4 weeks. I had paid family medical leave. I was able to be right beside my mom, making sure that he got better. And the 16-week hospital stay, that would bankrupt anybody except for maybe Donald Trump, maybe Trey Hollingsworth, but the rest of us that were bankrupt, except that he was Medicare. And so that is why I feel like every single person in the country who gets sick deserves the right to have a fighting chance of getting better, and I think everyone should have that same standard of care. And this is why I support Medicare for all. In the richest nation on earth, we can't afford not to do that for people.
Now, what kind of campaign are you running?
So I'm running a grassroots campaign in all 13 counties in our district. It's a big district. It takes me about 3 hours to drive. It takes my campaign staff about 2 hours and 15 minutes to go a little too fast. And, so I'm out there, we're walking, we're door knocking, we're building a movement. We're knitting together the traditional progressive Democratic base with the working class voters in our district, some of whom have voted for Trump and are coming back if they're voting for Democrats. And what I'm finding is that my message, which is about making sure that people can earn living wages, that they have access to health care, that they have strong public schools, that we don't gut our public schools through vouchers, which Indiana has tried to do, that we do things to stop mass incarceration, like decriminalizing cannabis. That's a message that people really lean into, they really relate to, because people want to be treated fairly, they want to be treated with dignity. And so this is a message that's knitting together a winning Democrat majority of voters, and that's what we want to do to win. And that's why I have 23 labor unions that have supported me in this race, and that's really unprecedented. It's because I stand up for working class people and I fight alongside working class people. And it really matters that we have candidates that are going to do that. And you can't just give service to the teachers. And I'm a workers' rights attorney. I have worked on labor policy, and these things are really, really important to me. And it shows in my campaign. So I'm knitting together that really strong fabric coalition that we win.
Now, Indiana is sort of an interesting state because Indiana, I think, voted for President Obama the first time. The second time, it didn't. Indiana had the person that is currently our vice president, the governor. I think he was in trouble, right? He was in trouble before he became the vice president.
Yeah. Well, if you drive down the road in Bloomington, before he somehow got promoted, so-called, he all of a sudden was fired by peace. So that's just a way to describe the feeling here on the ground, right? Sure, he was our governor, but people were totally opposed to the things he was doing around targeting LGBTQ people, through his religious freedom efforts. Of course, businesses boycotted Indiana because of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and of course now he's trying to do that same thing to the country.
Yeah, it's sad. I mean, especially since I think he probably took the position because he assumed that he was going to eventually become the president. He knows what he's into, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Now, you are considered a very family-oriented type congressperson, especially for the types of jobs the type of work that you did. Why don't you tell us a little bit about? Because what I want folks to get out of listening to you is that you're not just there saying these words now. I mean, you've worked for the folks. Tell us a little bit about the things that you've done for the pregnant woman that had problems, the person who didn't get their compensation for their unemployment compensation, etc. These are true progressive issues that affect a whole lot of people that generally just is left behind the curtain.
Yeah. So, I am a crusader for economic justice, and I will tell you that, I am very family oriented. I've got 2 kids, and they just came home from school. I'm sitting in my house, so they might show up.
Not a problem at all.
And that's what it is, running a campaign and being a parent and all the things. So they're in public school, they're 7 and 11, and they're very, very important to me. And as a working parent, I have seen how challenging it is even with resources, right? And I represented when I worked at the National Women's Law Center, I ran the Workplace Justice Project, and I was in legal services before that, and I had the opportunity to work with moms who were working, just as hard as they could, but were discriminated against when they were pregnant. Things like, needing a stool to sit on during a 10-hour shift. If you're pregnant, a doctor might say, you can't stand for all 10 hours because it's not safe for your pregnancy, or at a certain point, you can't lift, more than 35 pounds. Now, not every person has those restrictions, but if you're in a physically demanding job, like a lot of hourly jobs are, even just standing on your feet all day, there's a decent shot that your doctor is going to say there's a certain part of the job I need you to, lay off of during your pregnancy to be safe. And when employers said no to that, which, most employers say yes, but for those who say no, you're jeopardizing the paycheck and jeopardizing the pregnancy. So, because you're making a woman choose between whether she's going to hold on to her job or whether she's going to have a safe, healthy pregnancy, right? And if she can't hold on to her job, how's she going to feed her baby? And since upwards of 80% of women and men don't have paid family and medical leave, if she uses all of that, time off, right, because her employer will accommodate her just to have a safe and healthy pregnancy, she's going to have to go back to work right after she has the baby. Where's the justice in that? So, yes, I worked both for the Pregnant Workers Fairness Act, which is legislation that would stop that practice and say, what? You gotta just give people those simple adjustments at work. It's not so hard. Let's take care of it. But then I also was part of litigating this issue under the Pregnancy Discrimination Act, saying, under existing law, we ought to recognize existing law as protecting women who are in this situation. So, that's just an example of the kind of thing that happens and flies under the radar. It's really hard for women in low-wage jobs to get representation, and it's hard, when you're not, unless you're in a union, it's pretty hard to stand up to your employer, because if you put your neck on the chopping block, the likelihood of getting fired is just so great.
Now, tell me a little bit about your support for the Family Leave Act.
Sure. So, actually, I think was it Monday, I believe, was the 25th anniversary of the Family Medical Leave Act. And, of course, that's really important legislation that gives people time off to be with their families or for their, it's actually used most for people who are sick themselves, that have a serious health condition. But the fact is, actually, so many people can't even access that unpaid time off because they don't meet the requirements under the FMLA. So when I was the labor policy director in the House, I had the opportunity to help develop legislation to expand who gets access to the Family Medical Leave Act. That matters. But I also fought for paid family and medical leave, and that's so important. A lot of people can't afford to take that unpaid time, right? So if you have to take time off and you don't get a paycheck, how do you do that? If you're living paycheck to paycheck and you miss one, that can be the difference between having a roof over your head and not. So we need to pass paid family and medical leave. There's a bill in Congress called the Family Act. It's so smart. It's a small payroll tax on employers and employees. It's like every time somebody has a baby, should an employer, just throw up their hands and say, I can't believe it. What am I going to do if somebody has a baby? I have no idea. We don't have to reinvent the wheel every time, people. We can, we're the only industrialized nation in the world not to do this. What's wrong with us? It's smart for families. It's also smart for employers.
I think it's important for people to also realize that one of the reasons you have to have legislation is because you need to have an equal playing field. If you don't, in other words, if a benevolent company decides to provide that and one of its competitors does not, then it means that person is at a competitive disadvantage. What government's job is to do is to create some ground rules so that everybody is competing with the same rules, and that I think that is something that a lot of our candidates, when they get pushed back on this particular issue, to point out, you're just leveling the field so that one employer can abuse while the other one does.
Well, and the other thing is, our what's called labor force attachment in terms of the number of women we have in the workforce has fallen behind other countries because we don't have these things. So we are leaving money on the table. We could be more productive. We could have better economic growth if we made it so that women who had babies could be in the workforce. And other countries are doing it, and it really would help us. So we would actually, increase our economic growth exponentially if we just enacted paid family leave and acted like what it is, which is a common occurrence, right? Today, most everybody's working. There's that, sort of, old notion of somebody's at home and somebody's at work. Probably everybody in the household is trying to bring in some money because it usually takes everybody pitching in order to cover the bill. So
go ahead, say. There's another issue. I don't remember what it's called. This isn't the Family Leave Act, but this is where the bill that helps parents with daycare. What is it called again?
The Child Care for Working Families Act.
Right. Now, what's your position on that? Where are we with that?
So I'm a strong advocate for helping to get universal access to pre-K, but also to cap, the percentage of people's income that's spent on child care costs. Because right now, we talk about the student loan crisis. There's actually a child care affordability crisis. And, we're not meeting the need at all in Indiana for pre-K, or I think it's something like 25% of children who are pre-K eligible and income eligible actually get access to a pre-K program in Indiana, and the other 3/4 are hung out to dry. That's crazy. The 0 to 5 years are so important, and you can't get that time back. You know the stats. It's
right.
Every dollar invested is a $7 return. So we need to figure that out. But beyond pre-K, we also have to figure out child care assistance and help paying for care, because it's so unaffordable for so many families. The other side of the issue that people don't talk about, that I think about, is we need to make sure that assistance is at a level that's going to pay providers a living wage.
Exactly.
I was talking to a mom who had 3 beautiful children, and she herself is a child care provider, and she's she's going to school to get her certificate in early childhood development to be able to, she said, this is what I believe in. It's what I love doing. I want to be the best child care provider I can be. She's spouting off all these, statistics and facts and information to me about how important early childhood development, the early years are. And she said, so I want to be the best I can be at this, but guess what? I earn $10 an hour, and I'm not even. for going through this program, and that's so wrong. She can't afford to put her own kids in care. I mean,
that is sad.
And so we need to fix that. We need living wages. That's some of the most important work there is.
Well, you've actually worked on that with Senator Sanders. I think you wrote a part of that bill, isn't that right?
Yeah, so I had the wonderful honor of leading the development of the minimum wage bill in the House and working with Senator Sanders' staff because they were so my former boss in the House, Bobby Scott, and Keith Ellison co-sponsored the original sponsors of the Raise the Wage Act, which is the $15 bill in the House, and then Sanders had it in the Senate, the Sanders-Murray bill, so I got to work with their staff. And yes, it was really important to me that we got the House members to, get behind a $15 minimum wage, which is really the minimum we ought to be talking about and as a living wage. And you know what? It's still pretty hard to live on $15 an hour.
Absolutely.
But it's so important to really figure out what we're going to do to get this minimum wage in Indiana and 20 other states, which is at $7.25 an hour up. Because right now, it's just criminal that we have people who are working as hard as they can, living in poverty. Nobody can get by on $7.25 an hour. Nobody.
Now, you have organizations like the Heritage Foundation and other institutes that are attempting to make people believe that somehow raising the minimum wage is going to affect employment. All the studies that I've seen thus far dispute that altogether. And in fact, anybody who studied Economics 101 knows that if you give people on the low end some more money, that goes directly into the economy, which means you get economic activity, which means you get more production. So and in fact, there's one other thing I want to say, Liz, and that is many of the people who oppose the $15 an hour wage are some of the people who are making less than $15 because someone has gotten to those people to put the fear into them that, well, at least you're getting $10. Suppose you get zero. What do you have to say to that?
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. Just to sort of start with that, I believe that when we invest in people, and that can be from increasing wages to making sure that everybody has access to a good education, to healthcare. When we make investments in people, that's when we're all able to do our best and contribute to the economy. It makes the pie better for everyone. When we don't invest in people, that's when we're left fighting, over crumbs. And that's what's happening today. And so when you hear somebody who's earning a $10 wage say, oh my gosh, I'm afraid that if the minimum wage goes up, somebody's going to have more than me, right? That's about, a sort of corporate donor class that has really pushed this idea that we should all fight over crumbs and that we can't make the pie bigger for everyone. Well, I disagree with that entirely. So what you said is right. Let's see, if we pass, for example, a tax break for giant corporations, the 1%, and we hand over a huge wad of cash to all of them, do we think that they're going to go right to the grocery store and spend that on, buying a loaf of bread or on milk or on paying their child care provider? No. They're going to put it in an offshore bank account. That's what they're going to do with the money. But if we give money to the lowest paid Americans, they're going to spend it to meet their needs. And that is what makes the economy go around, is that consumer spending. I think the other thing to say to people who want to say the sky's going to fall, and of course, that's what was said. We've increased the minimum wage 22 times since 1938. It's been over a decade we last did it. But it's been increased 22 times. So if you want to look at what happens when you raise the minimum wage, just look at the 22 increases. It did not lead to job loss. So, I think that the folks that want to throw stones like that might want to actually know their history. Right?
Even beyond that, there are two states, and I don't quite remember which two states they are. I want to say it's Kansas and Missouri. I could be wrong. One raised the minimum wage, one didn't. And then they compared the economies on both sides, and what you saw was one economy thrived, the other one didn't. There was a particular interview that I did with a CEO in, I think it was, where's Brownback from? Kansas, where Brownback is, and when Brownback did the big tax cut and all these things, this CEO jumped ship and went right across the river to Kansas, Missouri, right? And Kansas City, Missouri, I think. Yeah, and what they found out is that there is some merit to having we need to learn, or rather, progressives need to use the right terminologies. Taxes are investments. Taxes used for programs are investments in people.
Right.
I mean, it's a shame you
I
can't.
believe in investing in people. I mean,
Absolutely.
I believe in that. And I worked really closely with economists on developing the
The $15, yes.
It does some, and we wrote what I think is a really smart bill that is really going to make a difference for people, and I'm going to get in there and pass it. I'm sick and tired of talking to the mom who tells me I'm a home care worker. And this is another mom I was talking to who had 2 kids. She said, I'm a home care worker, and I'm only, $11 an hour, and that's above the median wage for home care workers in Indiana. I can't get by. I'm just scared that they're going to do away with Medicaid, which is what funds my work and pays my salary, and scared I'm not going to serve my clients who I love, and I can't support my family. And she's doing. I mean, could there be more important work, than taking care of seniors and people with disabilities in their homes? That's really important work, and we're undervaluing this work. And this is work that, like, is 90% done by women, and those kind of low-wage service sector healthcare jobs are very disproportionately done by women of color. We need to do better. And we need to start valuing that work.
There's another thing that we have to start pointing out, and I wish we were more aggressive as progressives in doing so, and that is paying low wages is a tax cut for the wealthy, and not only a tax cut, but it's an abuse, because when those folks have to go on welfare, or when those folks go to the hospitals and we have to take care of them, those of us who are otherwise paying these bills, it is out of our pockets that these low wages are, that they're affecting. So in reality, it's a double whammy that they're paying low wages to hold on to money, and then they're getting monies from the taxpayers to take care of the workers that they hadn't paid correctly. So it's a hit twice.
You're absolutely right. And let's talk about one of the best ways that we could raise workers' paychecks.
Mm-hmm.
We could strengthen the organizing bargain. We could make sure that everybody has the freedom to come together with their coworkers and negotiate for their fair share. We know that when people are in unions, they're going to earn a third higher wages. They're going to have benefits. When there are union jobs, when there's a lot of union jobs in a community, non-union wages are higher because they're trying to keep up. This is what happens. And so it's really important that we fight back against union busting, and so these days, something like 3/4 of employers during the union organizing drive hire union busters, to try to stop the organizing drive. And so when you see this all-out assault on unions, it's really clear that what we have to do is make sure that we have the backs of unions. I do believe that unions are the backbone of the middle class in this country, and that if we're going to get back to having a strong middle class again, we're going to have to get behind our unions and make sure that we don't allow them to be gutted through right to work and things like that.
And that is why, I need to say this, but before you say that, you just said right to work. Folks, right to work is another right-wing term used to say right not to get paid what you're worth. That's what it really means. It's not right to work. Texas, where I'm at, is a right to work state. It means unions be darned. But anyhow, there is a reason why over 23 unions endorsed you. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. So that's been really one of the wonderful things about this campaign has been, fighting alongside men and women in unions, to stand up to the abuses that they're facing. As you may know, President Trump came here during the campaign and said that he was going to save all these jobs at the carrier plant.
Right.
And claimed that he was going to stop them from going to Mexico, and that, he'd done this great deal, which was giant tax breaks, of course. Guess what? The jobs went anyway. We've now lost over 600 jobs. And so I stood with workers outside the carrier about 3 weeks ago when 200 more workers were losing their jobs. And they're talking about, because they are going to Mexico, people who are earning $17 an hour here, those jobs are now going to be done for $50 an hour in Mexico.
Wow.
And President Trump didn't lift a finger to stop it. it's really a terrible thing to be in that situation. I mean, if you really think about what it's like to work at the plant for the last time that's provided your livelihood, as you know, it has done for so many people, and you have no idea where you're going to go next. And that's the situation that these folks are in. I strongly believe that if we are going to get back, as I said, to having a robust middle class, we're going to have to do things like fight back against right to work. I support federal legislation that would repeal the Tea Party provisions that allow states like Indiana and Texas to enact right to work for less laws. I also think we need to strengthen the National Labor Relations Act. And when I was the labor policy director in Congress, I got to work on some legislation that would do that, that would put real teeth into the act, create real damages if an employer fire somebody during an organizing drive, help put people back to work quickly, make sure that they can go to court just the same as anybody else if, the employer acts unlawfully. This stuff is actually really important. We're going to have to do these things because right now, it's kind of a slap on the wrist if an employer union busts, and so they do. They do it and they barely get punished.
Well, look, we're coming close to the end of this, so what I want to ask you to do is tell us, you're in Indiana, and there's things specific to Indiana I couldn't possibly know. And likewise, there are things that I probably should have asked you that I didn't. So what would you like to close out with telling? And then I have a request to you after you tell us all that I didn't ask you or that you haven't said thus far. Okay. I have a mission that I want to ask you to join.
Okay, got you. So, what I think folks here are feeling is the sense that we have a first-term Republican incumbent in our seat who's voted against Hoosiers every single time, no matter what issue it is. He's guaranteed. He just introduced legislation to make it so that predatory payday lenders can't be held accountable. I mean, he's on the side of big banks. He's on the side of giant corporations. He's not on the side of regular people. But the thing that actually bothers people about this guy is that he doesn't meet with people and he doesn't listen to us. I think that we have a great shot at taking back our district, and it's because of all the people in this district who are refusing to sit down. They are insisting on being heard. They are insisting on having a voice in the decisions that are currently being made in Washington about us, entirely without us. And so I've been holding town halls because my representative won across the district on the issues that matter to Hoosiers. And I'll tell you, the showing up town hall series, a little contrast.
I like that.
Now, you know what? I show up, and so do Hoosiers across the district, and we have a lot of good ideas. There are a lot of smart folks here in Southern Indiana, and I believe that if we had true representation, someone who actually listened to them, we would be a lot better off. Because you know what? There's a lot of ideas here that are a lot better than a lot of the ideas floating around Washington. So that's what I'm doing. It's about true representation, and that really matters.
Well, Liz, it seems like you're doing a great job. Now, let me tell you a little quick story here. We are a radio station here or I shouldn't call it a radio station. It's a radio, audio, video, everything station that uses the internet as its transport to get it out to thousands of people. Just recently, actually, between today and yesterday, Facebook changed its algorithm, which means whereas if you had been on yesterday, you would have had in real time. I mean, we'll get your this in the form of a podcast out to thousands of people, but in real time, you would have had several thousand people by now who would have heard you and seen you on this show. With the algorithm change, and the reason for the change of algorithm, we all know, is to continue the growth of the shareholders' value, no matter what. In as much as most of the people who get onto Facebook, most of the people who go onto Google, they're commodities that these guys reap for free. Just like the telephone system is regulated. Mm-hmm. I think when you get into Congress, you should consider the effect of social media on our body politic and realize that it must be open, because if it is required that thousands of small independent publishers and media folks have to pay twice, and why I say twice is we are bringing our domain to Facebook, Google, and everybody else. And at the same time, they would want you to pay more, again, to have the viewers that you brought to know that you're on. So, I mean, these are some issues that I hope that that folks take on, because it is a form of reducing your democracy and also your viability, because unless the people at the top says, well, Liz Watson, let's give her play on MSNBC and CBS and NBC, you get no other avenue. So I hope that those are things that within your platform you consider thinking about as well.
Thank you. I'm definitely going to be fighting for a free and open internet, and I believe it is essential to our democracy today. On the subject of the internet, really quick,
Net neutrality.
I want to let folks know that the way to find me online is Liz4, Indiana.com. So you can also follow me around the district on Facebook. That would be really fun. And that's at Liz for Indiana. So please do consider checking things out. Consider supporting my campaign. I would really appreciate that.
Let me just let you know that I made sure and had listforindiana.com right under your face, so that is right out there, and it is great. I love what you're doing in Indiana. You're a great progressive. Now go out there and win the district. Okay? It's been a pleasure speaking to you, folks. This is Liz Watson. The person we want to be, or the person several folks want to be the next progressive in the 9th District of Indiana. Thank you so kindly for having been with us.
Thank you.
Have a great day. Bye-bye. Folks, we are going to continue with the blog of the week, as you know. So, folks, let's go ahead and get there. Liz was like I said, she is going to make a great congresswoman out of the 9th in Indiana, and we are going to make it'll be that way. But anyhow, folks, before I get any further on this, this is really a dangerous spot that the internet is in right now. There is the website coffeepartyusa.com, where one of the places where Politics Done Right is aired, is a site with over I don't know, 1.07 people. That's the amount of folks that we're talking about on that site. Last night, when we had the changeover in the algorithm with Facebook, a post that likely would have had 20 to 30,000, what we'd call a reach of over 20 to 30,000. I woke up this morning, and you know what the reach was? 4. And I'm not talking 4,000. I'm not talking 400. I am talking 4. There's a problem. That's a problem with democracy. I'm going to do a video tonight, because I want to do more research before I come out completely and talk about the dangers of what Facebook has done. Facebook has made itself a utility, and after it has made itself a utility, it has then said, okay, now that we are a utility, you have to find new ways to access it, and that new way is, you know what that is. But I'm going to leave that alone until we have till I put things in a manner that I want to say it. But what I want to do today is just tell a little story, because progressives are in a tough spot right now with the way people are having a hard time, and it is important that I think people see where it's at. So, folks, you know what time it is.
It's time for the weekly blog post.
Okay, folks, the title of the blog post.
It's time for the weekly blog.
All right, the title of the blog post is as follows. Okay, let me see. Oh well, guess what I didn't do? I didn't have the blog post pulled up as I should, because I wanted to get the next congresswoman on in time. But as I dilly-dally here, I'm going ahead to pull this baby up for you. Anyhow, the title of the blog post is interesting. I gave it this title because I think it was it sort of gave the point. It's I am too damn busy surviving my present to worry about my future. Again, I'm too damn busy surviving my present because I'm too worried or too concerned about surviving my future. Here it goes. I have a routine that I follow almost like clockwork. I spin first thing in the mornings. I get up and I spin. I spin like hell on the bike. Why? Well, you know, you got to stay in shape, high blood pressure, all that good stuff. I then head to Starbucks to write a few blogs and prepare for my Politics Done Right show. I then run to the studio about an hour before the show, and then I head back to Starbucks after the show and I go there to finish tying up loose ends. I interact with a whole lot of people with different political ideologies. That's what I love. In as much as I'm this left-wing liberal, I'm one of those left-wing liberals that love people, love to talk to people, love to exchange ideas. And you know what? I'm one of those also who will change his mind on the spot. In other words, if you come up with a good definitive idea and it refutes mine right away, your idea has just become my idea, my friends. And of course, I'll give you credit for it because it's yours. But it'll, you know, and I think everybody should be that way. Now, I know based on math that the progressive ideology when it comes to particular issues is mathematically preferable for most people. That we can talk at another time. But anyhow, there are some of my right-wing friends who never miss an opportunity to come stop by Starbucks if they see my car outside to get into a debate. Always civil, of course. In fact, many times we've changed minds on many issues. My progressive friends are still very obsessed with Donald Trump, even as I try to steer them away from the obsession with him. I want progressives to concentrate on issues with those they are engaged in, and then appropriately portray Trump as the impediment to solving the problems that most affect the people they're working with day in and day out. Recently, I met a man in his mid-40s sitting in the back of Starbucks. We struck up a conversation, and I detected an accent, so I asked him about his origins. He was from Spain. Well, after telling him I was originally from Panama, we continued the conversation in Spanish. I always modify my Spanish when speaking to folks from Spain. You see, as I told him, we learned theirs was from La Real Academia de la Lengua. That is the real Academy of Language. That's the kind of Spanish those folks speak, right? After laughing about it for a few seconds about Spanish pronunciations of certain words versus how we do it in Latin America, my new friend asked what I did. I told him I was a software engineer, developer, business owner, turned full-time blogger, political activist. I always kind of give that because if you start out with political activists, they figure, yeah, you're just a rebel rouser. Well, that's not what I really want to do. I want to let them know, no, I was a businessman. I did all this stuff before, so I understand all the concepts of business, etc., etc., etc. He looked at me startled. I explained that I thought things were so bad that just like we expected others to save the day, I felt I needed to step up. After all, I have always been political from the time I came to this country. At the University of Texas, we marched on the West Mall demanding that the university divest its holding from South Africa, an apartheid state in those days. Of course, it's no longer apartheid after Mandela was released, etc., etc., etc. He told me he had 4 kids while working on his PhD as well as working as a professor at a university in town. With 2 people working in his household, his wife teaches elementary school, and things are not easy. Hell, childcare alone was like another mortgage, he said. That's one stuck with me. Now, notice what Liz Watson was talking about, how difficult she wants to make it a lot easier for working families to cap the amount of money they have to spend on childcare. Very good thing that she would, just putting that out there and letting people know that the money is really there to pay for it is a winning proposition for any progressive that is running. Anyhow, how do you make an income? He asked. I explained that bloggers and political activists survive mostly through online ads and contributions to their projects by people who believe in what they're doing. But can you make enough to live? He asked. I told him that in my case, I had already put my daughter through college for her undergraduate degree. Additionally, our $12,000 to $16,000 healthcare bill got relief when my wife started working on a part-time job after not working for 26 years, and that allowed me to cut my income requirements quite a bit. As someone with a big mouth about all that is wrong, it was now put up or shut up. That's the way I looked at it in the mirror. I had to put up or shut up because I always had my mouth open about what was wrong with society and what needed to be done. After we got over the income discussion, which at first befuddled him, we moved on to political issues. He is decidedly progressive. Moreover, as someone from Spain, he just does not understand our healthcare system can be so horrendous and expensive. He knows that the healthcare programs in Europe, most with some type of Medicare for all single-payer system, are much more efficient. We also discussed progressive taxation, income and wealth disparity, inequality, and much more. He was well versed in all of these issues. He knew them all. I told my friend that I wanted to recruit folks to help disperse the message that unfortunately many are not getting because of a derelict media. Knowledgeable people like this man needed to be a part of the army, I told him. I told him eventually he would be out there doing his part. I don't remember how he replied to it exactly. I remember feeling a pit in my stomach as he implied that the system could not change at all because the masses would always be subservient to the few. The masses would always be subservient to the few. And using his life as a prism, he could just have said, I'm too damn busy surviving my present to worry about my future. That is the life that many people are living today. They are so busy with their present, they don't have time to look into things that affect their future. And they don't have time to look into things that affect their future because they have got to live in the present, and there's not a darn thing we can do for their present. And that is a catch-22 situation that this country is in right now. That is a catch-22 situation why we have to find a way, our way, to get to people who will vote for folks. That they just have to do that one step. Just go vote. That they just have to go out there and vote. They don't have to expend energy to mess with your present. They don't have to do any of that. Fight through your present. Do what you have to do to maintain your present as necessary or as much as you can. Maintain your present. But vote for your future. But to vote for your future, you have to understand what is screwing your present. And that is what Politics Done Right and many other progressive shows are trying to do. Telling you, trying to express to you, without the prism of the plutocracy lying to you, how do you fix your present? By voting today so that the future becomes a good present for you. And this is a problem in America today. And the question is, how do we get around those very real issues? Activists must create a means of easy engagement that does not require fundamental change in tone, already difficult daily life. We have to do that. We must become less judgmental on those we tend to believe. Just let things happen to themselves and help find a path of participation, however small. In other words, a lot of times when we attack folks for not voting, a lot of times when we attack folks for just not doing their part to make this a better system, it is just because a lot of these people are trying to fight through their present, and they feel like that extra effort to fight for their future is for naught. Somebody had convinced them that fighting for your future is a lost cause, so why expend the time necessary to fight for your future? Progressives have to find a way to let these people know that they must fight for their future, even if it's just with a little bit, folks. So, most importantly, we have to make sure they are informed, even if they can't participate in the struggle today or tomorrow. So let's remember that. Let's remember that these are people that are trying. We hadn't gotten any calls today. I think it has a lot to do with the algorithm change in Facebook. And I can tell you one thing for all progressive media right now. That algorithm change is going to be the death knell for many publications online. It's going to be the death knell for many radio stations online, and for a whole lot of folks who have investments and employees, etc., to promote the progressive agenda. And I'm going to do a little bit of research and speak about that, not on Politics Done Right, just as a person individually, because the only solution to this problem going forward is educating folks as to how do we get around what Facebook, what Google, and others have instituted for February. I received, if you take a look at what Google has done recently, for those people who have Google Pay, and I know I'm sort of getting off subject a bit, but I have to, because this is something that affects everybody, and it affects the information that you're going to be able to get. It's going to affect the kind of news that you receive. It's going to affect a whole lot of stuff. Google just sent out a notice a few weeks ago letting folks know that in November, they will no longer, unless they had 1,000 subscribers to their YouTube network, and God, I don't remember how many thousand hours of views, their channels were going to be demonetized. In other words, people who are starting up with their progressive shows with under 1,000 people, they were getting demonetized. Good for Politics Done Right, that Politics Done Right is just an offshoot of egbertowillies.com. And egbertowillies.com has several thousand YouTube followers. So what we've been doing is migrating our YouTube, our Politics Done Right YouTube podcast, or rather vlogcast, to our egbertowillies.com channels. And we are going to be advising to many folks out there that these are the kinds of aggregations that they're going to have to do, because again, these big companies are making it more difficult for the small person to grow into a if you want to be out there giving progressive media, and you want to be out there making sure that people know the truth as far as you're seeing it, it is going to be effective now, because it's now in effect. Effective February. It is going to be a whole lot more difficult. As I spoke to the woman, Liz Watson, who is running for Congress in the 9th District in Indiana, this is something that I think needs to be picked up by Congress to ensure that organizations like Facebook and Google and others may have to become, if this behavior continues, may have to become regulated like utilities. And what do I mean by that? People are now, they created a platform that people decided to use as an alternate platform to other regulated platforms, and they encouraged it. Not only did they encourage it, but they allowed people to build models, their own models of performance onto their networks. You can say, well, this is a private company and they can charge whatever they want. Yes, that is true. But if it reaches a point where it affects the social being of the democracy, if it reaches to the point where it can be used and mishandled to elect a fraud for a president, then at that point, it has to be regulated. And that is where I think we need to go. This last stint by Facebook, which between today and yesterday, cut our views by 90%. 90% in one day. In one day. That is that tells you the type of the power that these people have. Like I said earlier, for those who are just joining us, the Coffee Party USA network has 1.07 likes on that page. Thousands of people. We reach thousands of people for every post that goes out there, and we have posts today on a page that has over 1.07 million likes, with with a reach of 4 and 0 views. That is extortion. That is extortion. Coffee Party and other organizations, they brought those people into the Facebook realm. When the people in the Facebook realm decided that that's what they like, they brought them. And in effect, what Facebook is saying is, I have the right to hijack those that you brought at all cost. And again, I'll talk about that later on tonight in the video that I'm going to make. Now, what's happening today otherwise? In the telephone number is 646-716-5812. I can take one call. Like I said, I don't know how many people are active right now on Blog Talk Radio. I know there are not a whole lot of people active on Facebook Live, specifically because of that change in the algorithm that I think it's time for us to, I don't want to say revolt about, but it's time for us to be talking a whole lot about, because at this point it is very, very dangerous what is occurring on the internet. And it's not only Facebook. For those that are just joining us, it's also YouTube. YouTube has decided that any of their customers who have under 1,000 people in their channel, they will no longer be able to monetize their network. So let's be careful of all of that. We're coming close to the end of the show. So let me first tell you, do remember that tomorrow we will be at KPFT 90.1 FM. I don't know what the subject is going to be yet. I don't know if I'll have another progressive candidate ready for tomorrow or not. But if you are listening here and if you are a progressive candidate, I do not care what state you're in. We want to highlight progressive candidates because we all know that the values that Americans want right now, based on all the polling that has been done, that have been done, they are progressive in mindset for the policies that they want. Now, thank you so kindly for spending this time with me, my friends. And please do return tomorrow. But before I go, I want to say one thing. We can sort of defeat, I shouldn't say defeat. We can sort of mitigate what Facebook is doing if every single person who comes to this, to listen to Politics Done Right on the internet, on Facebook Live, if they go ahead and share it to their wall, if they share it to their page, that will tell the algorithm that, okay, there is some interest in the show. The problem we have right now is the way interest in shows go is that it gets into the feed and allows people to see it. Right now, what Facebook has done is, for the first few bits, it may throw it in a couple of people's feeds. If those people do nothing with it, it just dies. It doesn't get into other people who may want it but don't know that it's on right now. Now, we are going to have some ideas to tell people what they can do to mitigate some of this. But in the interim, it's all on you. I forgot to read what my folks, I still have a minute or so that I can read some of what you're saying on the internet. Bear with me 1 second. Let me find that. Let's see. Let's go to see what our people are talking about. Okay, come on. Let's do this before the show has to go down. Let's do it before the show has to go down. And I got there before the show has to go down. I got a minute to do it. Come on. All right, we have Alan Alprim. I, Beer Hart, last night I sent you a copy letter with ballot access, sent it to Harris County Clerk's office. Okay, I'll check for that. Liz has voice on, needs to mute when she talks. Okay. The bill sounds great for women and families. To force Republicans to stay honest in bills should be touted as abortion. The fact that I don't quite get that, but that's because I'm reading it. Egberto, we got terrible echo. I thought I got that fixed, but I'll check that later. The echo is awkward. Go Liz, there is echo when Liz talks. I'll have to try to figure out what's going on there. America was great before Donald Trump. You're absolutely right. Folks, this is the end of the show. Thank you so kindly for having been listening. And please remember, we're going to do this again. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Williams. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is, at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is politics done right.
1, 2, 3, 4.